The Atlanta Braves avert a sweep with an 8-3 win over the Houston Astros in Truist Park on Sunday afternoon. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at shortstopball. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts and here on YouTube. Bunch of great content coming from Jake this week. But I want to talk about Atlanta's 8-3 win over the Houston Astros. Because one, they avoid a sweep, which is always nice. But two, this felt like, I'm not going to call it the Platonic ideal, but this felt like an example of if everything that both Tim Hires is wanting the offense to do and the inherent just skills and abilities these guys have, if it's all in sync, they can win. Atlanta picks up 11 hits, obviously 8 runs. They walked 6 times and cashed 4 of those in through whether it was back-to-back singles from Ozzie and Ha-Seong Kim with no outs and the bases loaded, 2 home runs, Matt Olson, Sandy Leon. Like, seeing something like this, is this kind of proof of concept of what Atlanta's offense could be if they can kind of correct from being too passive to being aggressive when it matters and taking their walks if not?
I mean, this was certainly the hope. And I talked about this on the podcast Friday, I believe, because somebody asked me, if Tim Hires comes back, do you think we could finally see this, approach come to fruition? And what I had hoped for when they hired Tim Hires is that you do gel everything together and that he does bring that different plate approach where you battle a little bit more, you're a little bit more patient, you're taking your walks, you're getting on base, but you marry that with the power. And instead, what we've seen this year is we've seen them be more patient, take more walks, but it's also leading to more strikeouts because you're getting deeper into counts because there's no 2-strike approach, and you're not being as aggressive early in at bats, which is generally where we see them jump on home runs. You look at the Matt Olson home run, for instance, in this one, and Matt Olson, I think maybe more than anybody, has done the best job of gelling these two approaches together. And we've seen him hitting 270. You see him still taking his walks, which he's always done that. And you have seen less power from him, but right now, I mean, he might get to 30 home runs with the hot stretch that he's on at the moment. But I think he, maybe more than anybody, has really taken to what we think is the Tim Hires approach, what we really wanted to see, just a more well-rounded hitter. And you look at the home run from him today, and it was on the second pitch of at bat. And Framber clearly trying to go inside on him with that sinker, one's a little bit in, but he was ready for the next one, and it was still kind of in, but he's just, that strong enough. He got it up and high enough, and that he was able to get it into the chop house. But being able to know this is how the pitcher is going to attack me. I see that early on in the account. I'm going to be ready for it, and I'm going to try to hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, that's what we've seen so much, and that's what we were kind of hoping this would be with Tim Hires coming over. It is that marriage of a really powerful team. We know what they can do with the home runs, but also a team that, hey, if I don't get that pitch early in at bat, okay, now I can battle. Now I can work the count. Now I can try to draw a walk or at least make the pitcher work and maybe shoot a ball the other way. Instead, what we've seen is we're just going to go up there. We're going to take good pitches just because we want to be patient. And maybe we're going to earn a few more walks here or there, but now we've let some really good pitches go by that maybe we should have ambushed earlier in the at bat. And that's what you hope to get to. It's a 1-game sample size here. I'm not going to say that this is, what it can or what it's going to be, but it's, to your point, it's what it can be. This is what we hoped it was going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, it made me feel better seeing the fact that they had bases loaded and no outs. And we've seen that recently, and they got 3 runs, right? Because we've seen times where they bases loaded, no outs, and they got 1, but they just struggled to do the rest of the drill. And I think a big part of that, and that inning specifically, was Ozzie Albies and Ha-Seong Kim going back-to-back with their singles. And Ozzie's had this hot second half. We've talked about this a little bit. Ha-Seong Kim, 11 games now in Atlanta, 289 with the 717 OPS, really was helped today because he got 3 hits in this one. if this is the version of Ha-Seong Kim that we see, right? He's hit 1 home run since he's been in Atlanta, but he's on average, it feels like he's good for 1 hit a game, right? Again, he's batting 289, so that comes out to roughly 1 hit a game or so. Is this version of Ha-Seong Kim, one, good enough for the Braves to get back to where they need to be? But it also feels like he's not necessarily hot enough to opt out and go to free agency this winter. Like it's a really tough line to ride because you want the confidence he's going to hit well, but you don't want him to hit too well because then he'll leave. I feel like you're still kind of on the side of he's likely to stay, but days like today, if he has more days like today, I do worry about his ability to stick around for another season.
Yeah, conversation actually had at the Braves game Friday with a listener, Sean from Greensboro, North Carolina. Shout out Sean. Because he asked me about this. Do you really think Ha-Seong's going to stay? And I said the only thing that really makes me worry is his agent and Scott Boras.
Yeah.
And if Scott Boras sees a line where I think you can get a guaranteed year for $10 million with an option year for $12 million. Or something like that. If I can see any way that you can get more than, what is it, 14 million for next year? Is that the option?
16,
something like that.
16.
So 16 million. So if there's any way you can get more than that, I'm going to take it. I'm going to do that. So that's the only thing that kind of gives me pause is if that Scott Boras feels like because the market for shortstops is very thin this offseason that he could take advantage of that. And hopefully, maybe get him a 2-year, $24 million. That's more than what you got right now. That he might try to do that and take advantage of the market a little bit. That's the only thing that really gives me pause. I don't know that there's anything necessarily that Kim can do the rest of the way that would really play too much into it. But to answer your first question on that, with the Profar signing and now with the Ha-Seong Kim signing, I've talked about that. These are different bats than what the Braves normally target. And it just makes me really feel like, okay, they're trying to lean more into this approach of kind of an all-around type of hitter. Maybe a guy that only hits 15, 20 home runs, but a guy that can hit, 260, 270, get on base. And it feels like they're starting
run the base as well.
Yeah, because you got speed. We saw Profar still won today. They're taking advantage of Craig Kimbrell there that inning. But doing a little bit more for you, which if, as I've said, all the second half, if that's what you want your identity to be, that's fine. Let's lean into it. Let's get guys in that fit that approach. And guys like Profar and Kim fit that approach. Great example today with Kim, those 3 hits. 2 of them I know were pitches down and away. One, he shot back up the middle. One, he just poked it to right field for a hit with 2 strikes. Both of those that I'm talking about with 2 strikes. So again, it's that different type of approach where, okay, I'm falling behind in the count. I got 2 strikes now. Let me shorten up. Let me just shoot a ball the other way. Let me go with that pitch. We don't see Braves hit. We haven't seen a great 2-strike approach from any Braves hitter probably since Freddie Freeman left. Like they just don't have that in them. So to be able to see that, you got to combine all these aspects, and that's tough. That's hard. Not everybody's a well-rounded hitter that can hit for power, hit for average, get on base, have speed. I mean, those guys cost a lot of money, but that's kind of what you're hoping to get more up and down your lineup instead of just a one-trick pony. I'm going to swing for the fences and that's going to be it. The boom or bust approach. And that's worked for the Braves in the regular season. I think the reason they wanted to change is getting too off the beaten path here is because it failed them in the postseason when you're facing nothing but good pitchers all the time. So again, Profar, Kim, those types of moves maybe think this is the direction they want to go, and those guys can help you get there, but you got to get buy-in up and down the order.
Yeah. Closing the book on the Ha-Seong Kim conversation real quick. I do think a lot of people just immediately say, well, he has to prove himself if he wants to get paid, and it'd be a bad move to go to free agency this year. There is also the argument people have to remember too. If he has a really good 2026, Atlanta can tag him with a qualifying offer, which he'd be turning down, $27 million if he were to decline that. But they can tag him with the qualifying offer, and it's commonly expected that we're going to have a lockout that offseason. And so it's possible that the conversation here is not just 1 for 16 versus what you can get in free agency. It's 1 for 16 and then go into a lockout offseason with a qualifying offer versus what you can get this year. So there is some complicating factors there. All right, in just a second, I want to talk about the pitching. Joey Wentz made some significant changes today. We'll break that down next right here on the Braves Postcast. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, yeah, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. And that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Because Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand. It's trusted by over 1.5 million people. And this is not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. Like whether you're at work, out with friends, just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine, and it's incredibly simple to add to your day. 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed, and you can feel good knowing it's NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. There's a couple people on this Braves team need to make sure their stuff is NSF certified. So see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol, Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. All right, so Braves give up 9 hits, but only 3 runs. And I think the big thing here is we saw Joey Wentz. It felt like a little bit of a different way of approaching some of these at-bats. Before we get into that real quick, I do have to admit defeat on this. StatCast has officially changed the classification. They have now broken out the cutter and the slider for Joey Wentz as separate pitches. So Jake wins that argument there. He's like, hey, this cutter's not a cutter. It's more of a slider. They've now officially broken those out into separate pitches. And so on the pitch plot today, slider, 4-seam, curveball, changeup. He gets 11 whiffs. And to me, I think I was a little surprised about the fastball. He gave up hard contact, 5 balls in play, average of 94.7 miles an hour, like rounds to hard contact. But I think he also got more whiffs than I was expecting. 4 whiffs, another 3 called strikes, and 18 fastballs. But it still feels like for Joey Wentz, it is all down to that slider. If he can miss enough bats with it and get enough chase, he's really going to do well. And today, they only chased 26% of the time out of the zone on the slider, and that ended up being the struggle for him in this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Joey Wentz is probably in that Bryce Elder bucket. Like it's going to take a lot to go right for him to have a great start. We might see him get on stretches every now and then when things are going right, but it's that fine line. And I think he's probably just more of a bulk, back end replacement type starter. Just like I think Bryce Elder ultimately is. I probably would even put Bryce Elder maybe a peg ahead of him. So Joey Wentz has gone quite down for me as far as, what I think he can do for the Braves if he's able to stick around. You mentioned the exit velocity on the 4-seam. The exit velocity overall was 93 miles per hour today, average exit velocity on 12 balls in play. 6 of them were hard hit. He got lucky, a couple of line outs in there. So again, it's been a really rough go for Joey Wentz. I mean, he's able to battle for you a little bit here, but just there's nothing really that I saw from him today that really changed my mind too much about Joey Wentz and his future with this Braves team.
Yeah, he's out of minor league options, but he still has team control. So if he makes the roster, it's probably going to likely be long man out of the bullpen. I do think that's kind of a role where, he can do that if you need him to make an emergency start on short notice. I'm thinking about the role Grant Holmes had last year. That may be something where they do, but I think it's kind of become abundantly clear down the stretch these last couple starts. Joey Wentz is not a guy that you're going to count on to be in your rotation for any meaningful amount of time in 2026. And if he is, you're in trouble. It's kind of like last year for Bryce Elder. He made 10 starts And it was because your rotation was one of the best in baseball. This year, he leads the team and starts in innings, and you have a lot of issues. And I feel like Joey Wentz is in that same bucket of he'll make some starts and pitch some innings. If he's leading you in anything, you're really in trouble. And AA is going to have to go grab, I feel like, some way, trade, free agency, both, multiple starters this offseason, simply because you really quickly get down to your options being Bryce Elder and Joey Wentz. And that's just not going to be good enough if you want to be competitive in 2026. I feel like we do need to talk about the return of Craig Kimbrell to Truist Park. He pitched one game for the Braves, obviously, this season. They let him go. He's on like his fourth team of the year now. He's on the Astros. He went to the Rangers and they didn't use him. But he gets into the game, 3 hits, 2 runs, gives up a home run to Sandy Leon, who I'm prepared now for Sandy Leon to take a bunch of playing time away from Drake Baldwin because clearly he's the better hitter too. But this kind of this sounds terrible to say it like this, but seeing what Craig Kimbrell did today, is that maybe necessarily validation for Atlanta not giving him extended run earlier in the year when they brought him up? They saw him pitch in the minors, they saw him pitch in the majors, and they decided, yeah, we're out on this.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to the Rangers and doesn't even get a chance in the big leagues there. He's come over to the Astros and hasn't given a run, but walked a lot. I mean, Kimbrell was with the Braves and minor league team in Gwinnett for a while and was throwing the ball pretty well, and they just still weren't calling him up, which tells me, okay, they're seeing something. People that are actually watching him and evaluating, they're seeing something that says this isn't going to translate to the big leagues. It's just not good enough. I think for the time, what just frustrated Braves fans is that the bullpen was so bad at that moment. It felt like, why not give Kimbrell a little bit more of a, and there's also just the fanfare of he's done so much for this franchise. It feels like you just threw him away quite quickly when you really didn't have much else in your bullpen. And I think that was probably more of it. But I can remember I think you saying it at the time too. He wasn't going to be a difference maker in this bullpen. Like, he wasn't going to change the fate of your season or be a shutdown reliever. It's just unfortunate where he is at this time. I mean, it's 94. It's still lacking some control. It's just not good stuff from Craig Kimbrell, unfortunately, at this point.
And to call it 94, you have to round it up. I mean, it was averaging 93 and change on that one. All right. So again, Braves take this one. You're headed to Washington now. You've got 4 games in 3 days. Monday, Spencer Strider versus Mitchell Parker. It's Roberto Clemente Day. Always one of my favorite days of baseball. I just really enjoy people getting to learn about Roberto Clemente and who he was as a baseball player and a person. Doubleheader on Tuesday. No starter for game 1. Chris Sale goes in game 2. And then game 3, Hurston Waldrop versus Brad Lord. I know you're going to jump into this whole series and everything on a future show. But like, real quick, it feels like from a pitching perspective, and granted, we don't know who Tuesday's starter is, but from a pitching perspective, you feel really good about the combination of those 3 guys. And as you're trying to win as many games as possible, you have to be optimistic that, hey, this should be, given Washington's struggles, given the strength of your starters, this should be at least a series split, right?
This kind of been my frustration with the last couple of series, because I feel like the starting rotation is somewhat leveled out with Elder throwing the ball well, Waldrop throwing the ball well, Strider kind of up and down, but Sell back. I feel like the rotation's kind of leveled things here, and the offense is what's taking the hit. So, yeah, I mean, I feel kind of good about the starters in this series. I don't know where the offense is. I mean, obviously they look pretty good on Sunday. We just talked about, that's what it could look like, but I just don't have much trust and confidence that it will look like that consistently. But on the pitching side, I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see what it's like. We will be back for Postcast for all 3 days. Quick programming note: unless something crazy happens in game 1 on Tuesday, like a no-hitter or whatever, we're just going to do one Postcast at the end of the day for both. But remember also, those of you who are watching on Locked On Sports Atlanta, tonight they will have a live 1-hour postgame show after the Falcons play on Sunday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. So make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Sports Atlanta as well as Locked On Braves on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you know when Jarvis and all those guys go live to break down the Falcons game tonight. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.